Hello, welcome to our PSYC1025 Psychology of Work presentation. This presentation was compiled by James Bridgetner, Brianni Page, Yi Liu, Melina Yang, Angus Howe, and myself, Maliki Yemen. Our group will be exploring the topic of organizational conflict and communication through the communication accommodation theory and Thomas Kilmann conflict mode instrument. Communication is a process by which information is transmitted and understood between two or more people. In organizations, sound communication skills are essential to ensuring effective work processes and healthy workplace interactions. Conflict is a process that occurs when one party perceives another party to have negatively affected or be about to negatively affect something the first party cares about. Sound conflict management skills help maintain positive relationships at work and may enhance task performance. The case study we have chosen is how employees of the multinational technology company Google communicate with one another, and how Vice President Liane Honzi deals with conflict within the company. We will also discuss some empirical evidence we have collated through Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Communication accommodation theory. The theory originated from the speech accommodation theory in 1973 by Howard Giles and also draws heavily from the social psychology and social identity theories. It involves the micro and macro adaptability and improvisatory nature associated with human situational, personal, or interpersonal interactions. It explains why and how individuals adjust their communication behaviors to convey their identity, relation, and messages to satisfy the social similarities or differences between who they interact with. Further, it explicates how the speech or nonverbal behaviors are perceived by all parties, particularly in an interactional conflict context, which is discussed in the case study example later in the video. Convergence occurs when an individual adapts their speech and behavioral patterns in accordance to that of their interlocutor. This minimizes the social difference between who they interact with. Divergence occurs when an individual expresses their difference or distinctiveness through speech and nonverbal patterns. Speech maintenance is when an individual's speech and behavior is cross-situationally consistent. This is often subjectively perceived as divergence. Some advantages of CAT are that they can be applicable to all situations involving verbal and non-verbal communication between interactants. This accounts for conflicts in culturally heterogeneous workplaces, for example, accent mobility, traditional dressings, and also in intergenerational workplaces like interactions between the young and elderly. A disadvantage of CAT is when the receptive side ignores or avoids a conflict situation which results in an unresolved matter and a negative workplace environment. A study has shown that older adults have a tendency to manage or ignore negative emotions and are better at dealing with or deflecting interpersonal conflicts in the workplace.
In 1974, Kenneth W. Thomas and Ralph H. Kilmann introduced Thomas Kilmann conflict mood instrument. The TKI tool assessed an individual's typical behavior in conflict situations and described it along two dimensions, assertiveness and cooperativeness. It provides detailed information about how that individual can effectively use 5 different conflict handling modes, which include competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, accommodating. Competing is an assertive and uncooperative, a power-oriented mood. Collaborating is both assertive and cooperative. Compromising is intermediate in both assertiveness and cooperativeness. Avoiding is unassertive and uncooperative. Accommodating is unassertive and cooperative, opposite of competing. The Thomas Kilmann conflict mood instrument consists of 30 pairs of statements. For each pair, the respondent must choose either the A or B item. Each pair of statements was specifically designed through a multi-stage research process to be equal in social desirability. On the one hand, the DKI can be quickly administered and interpreted, requiring about 15 minutes to answer the questions and about 1 hour for interpretation by the trainer. Interpretation materials help respondents identify the appropriate use of the styles and help them become more comfortable with styles they are less familiar with. On the other hand, some respondents can find the first choice style of the questionnaire to be frustrating.
For our case study, we'll be looking into Google Incorporated. Google is a technology company in which aims to organize information in a universally accessible and universal way. At current, Google employs 56,000 people worldwide and has made Fortune's list of the 100 best companies to work for since 2007. Communication in the internet century usually means using email and other forms of electronic communication. But how do the employees for the internet giant Google communicate with one another? Firstly, person to person. Almost every project undertaken at Google is a team project. At Google, team members are placed within a few feet of one another, such that virtually everyone at Google shares an office space. When a programmer needs to confer with a colleague, there is immediate access, no delay or waiting for a response. Management stays in touch with the knowledge and thoughts of the workers and vice versa through open forums. Google is renowned for a broad dissemination of information within its organization, allowing for the easy sharing of knowledge between all levels of the company. There is also electronic communication. Laszlo Bock, Senior Vice President of Google's People Operations, discussed in a recent interview the use of Google Moderator. This is an email program that allows employees to direct emails to any of the company's leaders. This allows anyone to ask questions, and then people can vote up the question they'd like answered most. Furthermore, project coordination is made easy as each Google employee describes via email what they have completed in the last week. This provides an easy way to track what everybody else is up to and to monitor progress and to synchronize workflow. Finally, let's discuss dispute resolution at Google. Leanne Hornsey, Vice President of People Operations, in a recent Meet the Boss interview outlined how Google manages conflict. She states, "Conflict here at Google is definitely brought out into the open, quickly and in a positive way. We would never manage conflict top-down. Managers rarely step in, and I certainly wouldn't. The last thing I would want to do is to suggest the answer. I prefer the employees to work it out themselves. I would merely alienate one party. Here at Google, it's all about honest dialogue. I would discuss with the losing party how they can get where they want to be in the company. That is where I would step in."
The first empirical evidence is about the good cop bad cop communication, accommodation, perception, and trust in law enforcement suspect encounters. The purpose of the study was to examine the communicated relationship in the police-suspect interactions. The results imply that the police accommodated behavior can lead suspects to be more trusting toward police officers. Therefore, communication has played an integral part in enhancing the relationship between civilian and law enforcement agency within the community. Two hypotheses were set. First one was focused on the police officer-suspect communicated relationship in terms of perception. However, the hypothesis was not supported by the data. While hypothesis 2 focused on the police officer-suspect communicated relationship in terms of trust, this hypothesis predicts a suspect will be more trusting of a communicative, accommodated police than a non-communicative officers, and the hypothesis is supported. From a theoretic level, the guiding principle of CAT has been supported by hypothesis 2, where it shows the potential social effect communication and accommodation can have a social interaction. Also, this particular study highlights how conventions and divergence in communicative behavior can increase or decrease the social distance between interactants, hence the result related the validity of the principle outlined in CAT. The second empirical evidence examines the relationship between principal reward power and the conflict management style based on Thomas Kilman's conflict mode instrument. The 5 conflict management styles are including accommodating, avoiding, collaborating, competing, and compromising styles. The study was conducted in the city of Bajan in the country of Iran, where all principals of high school have participated. The research question is that, is there a relationship between reward power and each of the 5 conflict management styles or not? Based on the data, collaborating conflict management style has scored the highest mean, which shows the principal believed that settling conflicts by discussing the issues directly with their employees was the most effective, while the avoiding style has scored the lowest mean. However, when addressing to the research question, accommodating style was supported by the data that there was a significant relationship between principal reward power and accommodating style, and there was no significant relationship between reward power and the other 4 conflict management styles. This shows that principals are willing to give us something which is the reward, either monetary or non-monetary here in the study, in order to preserve the relationship with the employees.
In conclusion, the studies have shown how communication is universal and how conflict is attributed to people's perceptions and personalities. The studies further looks at these ideas, supporting how communication should not be restricted to anyone and how conflict management should be positive and open. This is again emphasized through how conflict management is more beneficial compared to avoiding disputes altogether. To recommend, organizations should adopt a conflict management style to resolve disputes in the workplace, allowing it to be open and unbiased. Communication is the key, both in maintaining relationships and resolving conflicts, both in the workplace or in society as a whole.